Hey folks, it's Keith, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, and also known as the Shaky Key from many years ago. So I thought this video would be a little different, focusing on a little different aspect of what happens when you are ready to get on the air and maybe you've made your first contact. Because I know when I went through it, and I've gone through it twice, 1990 and again this past year, the biggest challenge once you actually are ready to get on the air is number one, to do it. And number two, what happens next? And it's the what happens next generally that I'm going to focus on here. So you're new to CW, you're ready to get on the air, or you've maybe got one contact somewhere. The biggest issue, same as single sideband, really, when you get down to it. Now, single sideband, you're not really using another language, you're using English for the most part. But the idea here is to have contacts. That's number one. Number two, the idea is to have fun. This is a hobby. It's not life or death. So you have to approach it from that viewpoint, right? This is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Now you're getting ready to get on the air. Generally, if you're studying now, let's say if you're LICW, which is, again, full disclosure, who I teach the level 1 class for. When you're getting ready to get on the air, they have classes that do that. I suspect most other organizations that teach Morse code will have some as well. So they're a good way to do it. All right, you can go in with an instructor, whatever, and set it up and get your first call out of the way. Now, of course, you got to do more calls, and that becomes an issue in itself. So your first option, like I said, number one, you can arrange that first contact with an instructor. Maybe there's a ham in your community or someone you know who's willing to do that first contact with you. I've always said, look up my QRZ page, my emails there, especially if you're in the eastern half of North America, Caribbean, that area. I can usually get out to there, and I'm happy to do a first contact with you and walk you through it. So there's no big deal there at all. And the option number two, which is the one that I chose actually both times back in 1990 and this past year, just do it. Now, my logic for that was that if I'm going to go on the air and make a fool of myself, I'd rather do it with someone who I don't know. So, warped logic, but that was my logic. I figured I want to mess it up when I get on the air. I'm going to make lots of mistakes. And I didn't want someone I knew knowing how bad I was. Now, reality was I wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought I was, but that was my logic for doing it that way. But again, and I keep stressing this in all the videos I do, no one cares how many mistakes you make. The idea is to have fun, make contacts, right? 2 points only. As I mentioned, everybody makes mistakes, and I should suggest a couple of things. Number one, go to something like, the POTA page, Parks on the Air. Listen to the exchanges. How many times will you hear someone sending, or you're going to hear, right? Somebody making a mistake, somebody not understanding something. Does anyone care? No. Do they complete the QSO? Log it in their books? Yes. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Go to the various club pages, whatever organization you're taking your course with. And if they have one, listen to some of their people sending back and forth. How many times do you hear? Especially that. Right? Very, very often. So yes, you make mistakes. They make mistakes. No one cares. I did a video just, a little over a week ago of an actual exchange. We both made mistakes. Were we upset? No. Did we have a good time? Yes. Did we have a good contact? Yes. We had fun. F-U-N. That's what it's all about. Now, very often I find what I'm doing, I'm adopting the approach of Howard, WB2UZE, who is the founder or one of the co-founders of the LICW club. Now, what does he do? He says, well, most of the time I just keep sending. The other operator doesn't know if he simply copied it wrong. The other operator doesn't know if I've got bad conditions on my end and he didn't copy it right. It doesn't make any difference for people. So that's the big thing. Get over that fear of making mistakes. Now, when you decide how you're going to do it, like I said, I decided just go on the air and do it. I think the challenge is once you've done it and it's out of the way, and everyone makes such a big fuss about it, way too much of a fuss, really, but they make a big fuss about it. What happens next? And that's really what we're looking at here. What happens next? Now, I know when I did this back 1990-91, I made 3 contacts, scary as hell. And then I said, this isn't for me. And I quit. Didn't use Morse code until about a year ago. That's a long time for simply not doing and following through. So what I'm going to suggest to you here is that you set a goal. One, if you're just getting on the air, you can set a goal to get on the air. And if you're on the air, set a goal for yourself. Maybe 1 contact a day. No, just at the beginning, 1 contact a day. Force yourself to do 1. Now, there will be days it's not going to work, especially in the summertime. The bands can be pretty crappy at times. And there will be gaps, but as long as you turn on your radio and you listen and you search for people and you try, you've succeeded. You're getting over that fear of making a mistake, of sounding foolish on the air. So here's a couple of suggestions for you. Now, the one, and I've used it many, many times, I like the SKCC, Straight Key Century Club, for a number of reasons. For number one, they use the old-fashioned mechanical keys and cooties and bugs and so on. I happen to like that. I don't have any fancy paddles or anything like that. I just like the old way. But the other reason I like them, they're a wonderful group of people who are very helpful and very good with new people. And my first contact, and I've said this before, my first contact, I went out because, like I said, I didn't want to talk to anybody I knew, so I went out and called CQ. And I called for quite a while, and there's a video somewhere of that. Didn't get anyone, not a single response. So I went into the SKCC, and yes, you have to join them. It's free. There's no charge. They'll give you a number, which is probably the most important thing, because people collect numbers for awards in that particular organization. So I simply went into the SKCC and I said, I'm trying to make my very first contact. I had 3 that day. Now, really nice people helped me through it. It was wonderful. After that, and ever since then, I still do the same thing. I go into the SKCC, and I'll show you this in a minute, and how I do it. Now, if you're trying to make it a little bit easier for yourself, there are ways to do that too. And we'll look at some of that. But what do you need for an exchange? Well, you need the RST, their location, so province, state, just the abbreviation, province, state, country, nothing more than that. And then you need your name, so you have to know your name, and you have to know your SKCC number and how to send it. And they're long numbers, so you got to practice this a little bit before you try it. And like I say, use the cheat sheet. And at that point, you're pretty well ready to do it. Now I've switched over to my phone just so you can get a better idea. Here's a cheat sheet. Now this is the one I use. You notice it says SKCC, I call them. So there's a space for whatever call sign plus myself, how I would do it. They answer, so I know what they're going to send me. I know the order that they're going to send things. And there's my response.
Pretty simple. And I can also do it if another way around as well. Now here's the guy I was talking to, WP4QWH. Notice a little yellow sticky pad. That's all it is. So Puerto Rico, his name's Hector, there's his number. And that was the frequency we used for logging purposes and the time of the call. So I'll show you that actually on the SKC site, but that's all it is. Very simple little one. If I flip it over to the other side, it's them calling me. And it's all there for me. I can follow along. Will they send exactly 100% what I've got here? No, but I know the sequence that's coming. So I don't get flustered. I know what I have to send back. Very, very simple.
All right, so this is the main SKCC sketch page or schedule page. And I just want to show you how it works and how you as a new operator can use it to your advantage. Now today is a special day. They're doing a randogram sort of contest. So you'll see RG up there besides a lot of the names. So if you go over to the right hand side here, if you just follow my pointer, if you can see it, there's everybody who's logged in. Now, a lot of them give you the frequency they're on. So it's pretty easy to see what frequency they're using. You can go to it, you can listen. So as an example, if this guy is 28050, just put your mouse over his name. Look what comes up. His name's Gary. His SKCC number is 13916S. He lives in New York. You've already got most of the information that you need. Now, if you're new at this, you can write QRS beside your name. Here's one down here, PY2BN. Now, this is a nice guy. Tuca's down in Brazil. He's very new at it. He sends very nice code, actually. And I spoke to him, I guess, about a week ago. But because he has the QRS beside his name, people know he's sending a little slower. So you can see this, that's one easy way to do it. So if I log in, right now I'm logged in, I should say, but if I go active, there's the go active button, then I will come in alphabetical order. So if I go active, there I am there, VE3SVQ, QRS, number exchange. What does that tell everybody else? I'd like to talk to people. I would like to exchange the SKCC number, their membership number, because that's what you use you collect those essentially for awards. Now, if I find someone that I want to talk to, and I'm going to use an actual example from yesterday. So here's an exchange. This is between me and the gentleman by the name of Hector, who was in Puerto Rico. So if you're way down the bottom, now he had posted QRS. I said, hi, Hector. Is there a particular frequency that you're on? He came back and he told me a frequency that he was basically listening to. I said, okay, I'll go there. What words per minute will you like? And he came back and he said about 13 words per minute. So I already have the basic information because I've checked it out, just put my mouse over his name. Now, if you go back, what I do is, and you saw it a few moments ago, that little yellow sticky, I stick that right up on my cheat sheet, and I've got all the information I need. Because when I'm going to copy his call sign, I've got it. When he sends his name and so on and his number, I have it here. I can follow along and see how things go. So you can simplify this for yourself quite a bit. And if you just look at the exchange, so we had trouble getting a frequency. We finally found one. And I said, okay, I'll call you, because it's generally easier when you start if you answer someone rather than try and call them. And he was fine with that. So we went through, we did it all. And then at the very end, you can see here, now this is him sending to me, thanks, Keith, for fine business, QSO, 73 Hector, Puerto Rico. Pretty simple. And then what he did, and I did as well, we went into where you click everyone, and this is where everyone is making comments back and forth, and we each went in and thanked the other person publicly. And this lets everybody know who's sitting there that, oh, you're actually talking to people. Maybe they should call you, or they'll contact you by private message, or maybe they might even just send you a message on the public and say, hey, would you like to try such and such a frequency? So it's simple stuff, and you can relax because you already have most of the information that you need. The only thing you have to really know is, what are you going to send for an RST? At the beginning, just go 599 or 559. Don't get fancy. Down the road, as you get easier and more comfortable, especially sending and receiving numbers, then you can send the whole number. That part is entirely up to you. So there you go. That shows you, it can be pretty simple. And again, remember, FUN, fun, not panic, not worry, just have fun. And you can do that for whatever number of times you want in that day. But as I said, set a goal. Try and do one a day as a minimum. Some days you're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5. They have events where there's a lot of people on, a lot of people looking to collect membership numbers. So it's an easy way to do it. And again, it's practice. The more you do it, and I say, if you can probably get one a day in, or let's say 10 calls, 15 calls in your first 2 weeks, at that point, you're going to start to relax. And that's when it really becomes fun. When you can just have fun and go in there and not worry about what you sound like and so on. It is a hobby. As I said before, it's not life and death. But set that goal. I think you'll find that over time it's going to be worthwhile. And I can use myself as the best example. I made 3 contacts and then said never again. So I went, 30 years without doing Morse code. And now that I'm doing it again, I find I absolutely loved it. So I missed out on roughly 30 years of fun. And that's simply because I wasn't consistent and I didn't do what I should have done. So my advice to you, doesn't matter how bad you mess up the first 3, 4, 5, 10 times, you will always make mistakes when you're starting. The other guy on the other end will be making mistakes too. No one cares, no one worries about it. Everyone's there to have fun. And as I've said, hey, you want to make a contact? Send me an email. We'll try and work one out. I have a lot of fun doing it. I've had some wonderful QSL cards with comments from people who I have never met before, but who have either followed my videos and managed to make a contact with me on the air, sometimes totally by chance. It's a lot of fun for everyone. Hope to see you out there. Maybe we'll make a contact too one day. Good luck with your Morse code. Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec. Wishing you a great day. 73.